I think it depends what kinds of things. So, like for example, for learning cryptographic algorithms, I think the only thing that works is to just implement it yourself.
And what about other things like as a company, as a community, as a people?
Well, like what kinds of things? And what any example?
Yeah, like growing Ethereum from the first place.
Sorry, what's the question?
How do you develop like Ethereum, right? How do you like grow from there? Like how do you like really learn how to put things together? How to really how to start
basically like
familiar before?
throughout the journey you might like encounter a lot of knowledge, turn it into the wisdom or like some sort of knowledge that you kind of form.
Yeah.
Just want to ask like how you like acquire, absorb those information and turn it into a wisdom, basically.
I think the thing that always happens is like you start a project and then you start colliding with reality and then things happen and then you learn from those things, hopefully. And then other different things happen. And the second time around you're like a little bit less stupid and then you keep going and then improve over time.
It's just kind of like playing a game.
Yeah, I think real life is very different from school, so I think it definitely is an environment that's very easy to just completely not be prepared for. And I think the only thing that you can really do is to just like try things and then learn from what happens and try to improve.
Yeah, so that's basically the first question regarding learning. So we have a lot of Thai builders and Thai developers and our grassroots here. I think one question that we always wanted to ask you as a co-contributor of Ethereum and the founder of the Infinite Garden, we would like to ask you about like in this context of this world, like in developed countries, they might can like progress through like concept of the act, everything, and I just want to ask you about like what are the concepts that we can apply? What are some of the philosophy that we can apply buildings from like developing countries? I think it's like in our way in like Eastern society is might take the different approach than like Western society. Like how can like these builders can learn from the concept of the plurality and everything and apply for themselves in our context.
Yeah, and I think the strengths that I think a lot of developers here have already. One of them is just building things that have a lot of users and like growing a product very quickly and really being able to adapt it to meet a lot of people's needs. I think there's like a whole other level of like effectiveness and speed to that here that's like very difficult to match in the other parts of the world. I think with a lot of these other ideas, I think including like social ideas, like plurality and like decentralization and these concepts, and like even technical ideas like zero knowledge proofs. I think the important thing is to just like learn and be aware of the ideas, and I think especially like don't just like treat it as like a school curriculum, right? Like don't just treat it as like okay, like people high up are writing books, you're supposed to read books, and then end of the term you'll have an exam. Like this is like like these are ideas that I think we and everyone like wants to see in the world, right? And I think you always want to like start thinking quickly like what is something that you can build that actually works in some way different from an existing system that actually uses those ideas in mind. And I think if you do that, that's something where the whole world I think can appreciate the result. Like if it succeeds or it fails, it's a valuable experiment that everyone can learn from.
Yeah, thanks very much, Vitalik. Yeah, I think it's just very interesting that you point out that our like developing countries also has a strength, right? Building to mass public and stuff. And I feel that this community, other communities in Thailand as well, have many aspiring developers. Let's talk about like how to do initiative because I believe that we have a lot of technical people and can like sometimes we struggle to really like set up a new initiative, try to lead a project. So the question is about how can a technical person step up to lead a certain initiative, which I think sometimes sort of people perceive it as a businessman job, right? So like what support do you think is necessary to empower these awesome developers to take their first step in leading and actually sustain the momentum?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can like share my own story, right? So I first got into Bitcoin back in 2011, and at the time I had like some programming skill. I basically grew up as a kid programming games for myself to play, and then I was also doing like programming competitions and, and like other things like challenges on the internet and so on. But then I still felt like the kind of programming I was doing and the kind like there was still a big gap between that and like what it takes to actually build something in the real world. And like I definitely have like zero confidence I could bridge that gap, right? And so when I started, I did not start as a programmer, I started as a writer. And basically I was looking through the Bitcoin forum. I found someone who was willing to pay 5 Bitcoin, which back then was $4 for people to write articles for his website. And so I thought, okay, I'll try. And I wrote an article, and then there were other people who wrote. And actually, what I discovered was that after 3 months, I was the only person who was still writing and who was still sending articles. Like everyone else, their attention span like drifted away and they gave up. And so I just kept doing it. And then 6 months later, I got an email from Mihai Alisiev, this Romanian person, who said he wants to start a new print magazine and he wants me to be the head writer. And so, like, I was really amazed. I'm amazed anyone would actually trust me to be a writer for a magazine. And so I said, okay, I'll do this. And then I think 6 months later, we had a website. 1 year later, we had the first print edition. And then that kept going for about 2.5 years. Then I also started like doing more blockchain programming, actually, by doing bounties for the like some edits to the colored coins code. And so like basically like small tasks, and then I did some tasks, and then they actually paid me about like 10 Bitcoin, which back then already was worth $170. So like, and like for me, I think like I was still like very happy to be paid. Like even if it's like sometimes it's like $170 for 1 month of work, but for me it's like still more than I ever had before, right? And so I was happy, and I also like got the confidence that like wow, I can like actually write code that other people value enough to pay me, and so I kept doing that, and then I started working for these projects, and eventually I was working for Colored Coins and Mastercoin, and well, the thing that I immediately started doing is I started identifying situations where they had like 2 different features, where actually you could combine them with one feature that's a little bit more flexible that combines their functionality. And so I did this, and then after 2 weeks of doing this, I realized that the logical conclusion is to replace their entire protocol with a programming language. And so I sent this to them as an idea, and they said, well, no, this will take us more than 1 year before we can get to this in our roadmap.